Good evening, we are FBM Consulting, and tonight we are going to present our business report about the possible penetration of the bakery Martin on the Mexican market. So we analyzed the Mexican market in order to see and to detect if the bakery could implement itself on the Mexican market or not. So first of all, I would like to start with our business quote, which is we are proud of our international team composed exclusively of experts with the only purpose to give you a tailored help to fulfill the desires of your company. So quality for us is the best business plan.
The demographic and purchasing power we choose as the best option Mexico City and to be more specific in Polanco. Later we are going to explain more about why we choose Polanco, but speaking about the purchasing power, we saw that Polanco is a strategic point for principal suppliers that has already the industry in Mexico. The principal suppliers are flour, salt, water, butter, milk, and yeast.
Now I'm going to talk about the Mexican political system. So Mexico is a federal republic, and the constitution is classified in three levels of government, which are the federal union, the states, and the municipal governments. The president of Mexico is the head of the state and the government, as well as the commander-in-chief of the Mexican military force. So the president appoints the cabinet and other officers, and he is responsible for executing and enforcing the law and has the power to veto bills. So he has a very, very powerful position, but the power is not totally centralized because the president has to be elected every 6 years by the population and has representatives that are elected every 3 years. The representatives represent the different parties that exist in Mexico. For example, you can have Republicans or Democrats or even like more conservatives. I have three main parties in Mexico for Partido Acción Nacional, which is more a conservative party. There is also the Partido Revolucionario Institucional, which is more liberal, and the Partido de la Revolución Demócrata, PRD, which represents the Democrats. So Mexico is the 10th largest export economy in the world and the 23rd most complex economy according to the Economic Complexity Index. In 2015, Mexico exported like $391 billion and imported like 377 billion of dollars, which is quite similar, and which comes to a positive trade balance of 14.4 billion of dollars. In 2015, the GDP of Mexico was like 1.14 trillions of dollars, and its GDP per capita was $17,000. Nowadays, Mexico ends in 2016 with a GDP of 18,583 US dollars per capita. And according to the information given by the trade map, Mexico's import and exports represent 2.4 of world imports and exports in the total of products, so in the general range. And in addition, the total value exported in 2016 was like about 370 million dollars, and the total value imported in 2016 was about 380 no excuse me 390,000 million of dollars 390 million dollars, sorry.
So if we see in the economic system in the Martin Bakery, then they need to innovate, make promotion, and relate their marketing with their weather in the country, because Martin Bakery is considered a medium establishment, and this makes value to the company because in Mexico there are less big establishments, and in the price part, the bread, pastry, and sandwiches are an atypical behavior. This applies when the industry is making the dumping effect, but also this could be about the weather or the season point, and that is why we talk about these points. In the part of the legal system, the union powers are separated in executive, legislative, and judicial. In the legislative, it's confirmed by initiative, discussion, approval, sanction, publication, and beginning of validity. The judicial power creates jurisprudence through the plenary of the Supreme Court of Justice of the nation. The executive is the president and his team. Some regulations that the Mexican legal system, in speaking about bakery, we have the federal government safe practices in agro-industrial sector that it tells that elaboration of bakery products in machinery and equipment and preventive methods. We could see that what machinery is necessary to make the bread and doing all the preventive methods necessary. And the norm 247 SSA1 2008 of the official Mexican standard regulates the services with cereals like flour, meal, semolina, semoles, baking products, sanitary provisions, nutrimental specification, and methods of testing. And this norm, it also says that all the ingredients that needs to be healthy and be nutrition for the human body.
I'm gonna introduce you to foreign direct investment in Mexico. We can notice that Mexico is one of the emerging countries with the most open foreign direct investments in the world. We can also see at the level of the world that it's the 15th largest FDI international group, reaching in 2016 the figure of 26 billion US dollar. It's a bit less than in 2015 when it figure of 33 billion US dollar. It can be explained with the election of Donald Trump as the president of the United States and the conjunctures that followed. In the graphic, we can see that a lot of this investment came from the United States. Mostly they are located on the border with the US, with a lot of manufacturing industry, automobile industry, and also on mining company. Also, a lot of investment came from Spain, and they are mostly in financial service with banks like Santander, who are really present in Mexico. There is also a lot of investment in the tourism in the Yucatan Peninsula mostly. So for Martin Bakes, the advantage are the labor costs. The government is oriented investment, the young and skilled labor force, and all type of natural resources and industry competitive that we can find in Mexico. In the number 8 position of the most popular touristic destination. So a lot of American people, European people, we came to Mexico, and this is to notice. But Martin Bakes need also take care of the Mexico's economic stability is highly tied to the well-being of the US economy, with all the links that we saw before. Social economic satisfaction will present a challenge to the long-term growing potential of the country. Also, for sure, the violence in the country and also the size of the country may present some distribution and supply chain challenge for the company. So now I'm gonna introduce you to Mexican pesos. So Mexican pesos is official currency in Mexico. We can see that it's worth around $19.05. Also, €1 means 22.09 Mexican pesos. This is not his best with the election of Donald Trump. Since then, the pesos is not very good. The Bank of Mexico tells that pesos is undervalued and that international market give an unfair treatment to the currency. Business group in Mexico warns that beyond financial speculation, it's the value of dollar currency increase. The international crisis may worsen in a short time. We can also see that recently pesos was quite strong in August. For example, €1 was 19 Mexican pesos, but since in September and October it went down, and now €1 is 22 Mexican pesos.
About the dimension of power distance, Mexico is a hierarchical society, as the score of 81 shows. People accept everyone, centralization is popular, and it is expected some workers must have a boss who will tell them what to do, which is not too good because sometimes they don't have like the initiative to do something. About the dimension of individualism versus collectivism, Mexico has a score of 30, which means that it's collectivistic society. Consider loyalty as a key term, and they want to form strong relationships. And when they hire someone, the decision must be taken by all the members of the group. About the masculinity versus femininity, with a score of 69, Mexico is a masculine society. It is a society where they think live in order to work, so workers expect that bosses explain everything in a decisive and assertive way. Also, they are focused on equity, competition, and performance. In the uncertainty avoidance, Mexico has a high preference for avoiding uncertainty, like his score of 82 shows. When countries are in this side of the dimension, they maintain rigid codes of belief and behavior as a result of their emotional need for rules, and they prefer not to try new things. Long-term orientation versus short-term orientation. Mexico is a normative culture due to the low score of 24, so they prefer to respect the traditions and a small propensity to save for the future and are focused on achieving quick results. So they are a short-term orientation culture. And the last one is the one that is indulgence versus restraint. It is a new one and is defined as the extent to which people try to control their desires. Mexican culture has a very high score of 97 in this new dimension, which means that they are an indulgence culture. They show a willingness to realize their impulse and desires with regard to enjoying life and having fun. Well, about this, there is not a lot of information about relevant environmental regulation because people is concerning in other things and there is no documents to mention it. But the topic that is important here is the healthy life of the person due to it was discovered that the bread uses a lot of components that are not good for it. So the proposals that there is in text is to the way to solve it is with the elaboration of functional and integral breads, an adaptation of the philosophy of being as green as possible, leaving behind the uses of flours with many additives, use of high amounts of sugar and fat.
So, what are the Mexican hiring practices? The first one is that we have to know the contracts. So, it's a document that mentions the rights and obligations that the worker must have. There are actually three types of them: the individual work contract, the collective one, and the contract law. A second part is the fair wage. It is the remuneration that the company must pay to employees for their work, and the minimum wage of the Mexican workers is 80.04 pesos. The working day, so there are three types. It's either a day shift, a night shift, or a mixed shift between night and day. The bonus, which is the retribution that the employee receives each year. The holiday bonus. This is the right to a vacation after being working for 1 year, or at least you must give them 6 days. The days off are when the worker has the right to 1 day off by 6 of work a week. The settlement is the document where both worker and employer finish the laboral relationship and confirm that there are no outstanding payment or work. The profit sharing, this is about an additional payment to the salary that the worker centers to do when they have profits in a year. And training is important because the company must provide to the employees the technical knowledge and skills that will help them perform in a better way the work they're asked to do. And a last point, which is the maternity labor rights. It's pregnant or lactating women should not work or in unhealthy or dangerous jobs, neither in hours after 10 at night. So what are the trade policies detailed of Mexico? First, bakery industry has 10% of tariff in import or non-tariff for export. About import observations, there are exceptions with the tariff of Colombia and Panama. The tariff import with Panama were of 9.17 in 2015, and today it actually decreased to 7.50, and it's expected to decrease more and more until zero. The number of anti-dumping measures in Mexico increased by 68%. However, it is said that here the bake industry is allowed the anti-dumping practice due to there is always bargaining it.
We make a canvas model for Martin Bakes, and we could see there is a value proposition where it's the unique. It's to sell pastry, bread, and sandwiches when you need, and also the customer relationship. We want a friendly, healthy, and high quality customer segment: men, medium, high, international people living in Mexico, university students, corporative workers, and in the channels are going to be social media publicity, email promotions, and Uber Eats. And key activities: know the legal norms, know the salary work, find the strategic local, and key sources. It's going to be the floor, machinery for bread, refrigerator, chairs, and in the part of key partners is FBM Consulting, self-service store, and strategic suppliers, as we saw before, and the cost structure like a local cost in Polanco, industrial mixer, bread displays, wage workers, and for chairs aims. And in the revenue streams, we make a supposition in when you have to sell bread price range or pastry or sandwiches, we make like a supposition just selling one thing.
So should Martin Bakes enter in the Mexican market? Our expert says yes, the company should indeed enter the Mexican market. There are for sure some situations where Martin Baker has to take care of regarding some fluctuation in the Mexican pesos and supplies. Besides, their franchise could grow by the time. Also, it is important to consider the healthy subject because at this time it is one of the most important regulations in the industry. As a result of the problems that bakery consumers have in relation to the amount of sugar and other ingredients that are not too healthy for the body. Well, when Martin Bakes should start? They should start in December or at the beginning of January because it's a good season to consume bread or other varieties. And there are a lot of family reunions which will help to increase the sellings.
With the previous deduction, we are sure that Martin Bakes has future in the Mexican business due to the advantages like the value purpose mentioned in the canvas model. Also, in the part of revenue streams, we can notice that Martin Bakes can have a return on the initial investment without being too risky, and the amount of the cost was not so high.